What's up, everybody? What's going on? I'm so happy that y'all are in the studio with me, Darius Ventress, back for the episode. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Smash that subscribe button, and I would love to just have you on the family. We got some great content. We got some great interviews coming. We got some great interviews that's been passed. You can watch and catch up. But today, I got somebody special. He's like my little brother. You know,
Yes, sir.
we we've known each other now about 5 years, worked together. I just love this brother, and I know that y'all are going to get to know a little bit more about him and come to love him too. Josh Foster, everybody, give it up for my boy Josh Foster. What's
Thank you,
up, man?
man.
How you
Man,
doing?
everything's up. No complaints here, man. In
Yes,
Europe,
sir.
so that's great.
Man, that is what's up, man. What you doing out there in Europe?
Man, so now I'm working with Renee Rapp,
Okay.
pop artist. She is 24 now. I started working with her last year. So
Okay.
we did a US run last year, last fall, and this is our first time doing a Europe run.
That's what's up,
Yeah,
man. Oh
yeah,
man.
man.
Look, man, I gotta say, man, right off the jump, man, I am so proud of you, bro.
Thank
So
you, man.
proud of you. Man, when we first met back in January 2019,
Yes, sir.
we was getting ready to go out on the road with Tyler Perry, Medea Farewell Tour,
Yes, sir.
and you were just a young buck back then, man. How old were you then?
I was 23.
23.
23
Man,
years old. Yes, sir. Just turned
man,
23 when we started rehearsal because my birthday was the day before, I think. My birthday was on the 2nd. I think we started rehearsal on the 3rd,
that's
if I'm
right.
correct. Or something like, yeah,
Yeah, I
it was
think
something like
so.
right then. Yep.
Man,
Yep.
you know, we hit it off immediately. It was just
Absolutely.
one of those things that just worked. Cause I pride myself as a percussionist to be able to really connect and get along with every drummer that I play with. But
Right.
it's not always like that much connection. Like I felt like you and I had an immediate connection, just more than just playing wise, but
Yeah.
it was just something different, man. How did you feel, man? Like when we first got together, like what was that like for you?
Well, first off, um, let me just put this out here, y'all. Like, the first endorsement deal I ever had is because of Darius Pinterest, first off.
Oh man, thank you, man.
But more than that, I think what even led to that moment and so many other moments that I know we'll get to is initially I think it was the selflessness of both of us, but more so from my part. You've done this at this time, you've already played with so many names in the industry. You've already worked with a lot of my favorite drummers, Marvin McQuitty, Calvin Rogers, to name a few, and many others.
Yeah,
But specifically in my brain, I'm coming from a place of admiration. And I think at that age, some people could feel like, well, since I'm on the same gig as you, that we're on the same level. And I just don't think that that was my mentality. I knew I had something that I brought to the table that was worth being in the room, but I came in with an open mind to like, like I'm coming to learn, even though I can play. But playing is one thing. We connected, I believe, because of similar interests in life. At that time, Lyric and I were still dating.
hmm
Um, and so that was who is now my wife. But
yes. Shout out to
you
Lyric.
know, shout out to Lyric Richey. But yeah, man, I think that I already had a picture in my mind of one, that was my first time ever playing with a percussionist, especially in that setting, but just anytime locking with a percussionist and also sharing, occupying brain space
Mm-hmm.
with another individual. And we know that I think what it was is our personalities came out because we got to vibe out in a playing setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started chopping it up. And then it all makes sense because, people, our personalities come out on our instruments and in our gifts. So that, man, we hit it off. It was like instantly big brother, instantly one of my life coaches at times, like each time we've come to the house every time when we come to Texas, and I just
Right.
think that that formed a brotherhood from that point. And you never looked at me as just a young brother. You looked at me as a young brother who's passionate about what he does, and we can come to the table as equals. And you treated me like that, even though I was still in a space of like, let me grab this knowledge. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So, man, we hit it off like crazy, man. Just life. But yeah, the selflessness is where it started for me. I think that you were really trying to fill me out, and you didn't come in with a preconceived notion of how it should go based on who you had worked with.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's real. That's real. It's funny because at that time, uh, I had done some, obviously had worked with Ronnie and the guys before,
right,
on other
right,
tours. And I did stuff with SI recently before that. Like, so,
right, right.
you know, I was under the understanding that our guy Sarad might be on this show, right?
Yep, yep.
But we'll get the rehearsal, find out no. Okay, Sarad's not playing. This is young cat. Josh, I found out you from Texas, of all places, from Fort Worth.
Full worth, man.
And that right there, I think was the really the linchpin for me knowing like, okay, this is one of my homeboys, Although I'm not from Texas, but I live in Texas now. I've been here for a long time. But I
Absolutely.
mean, you right from right down the street from where I'm at. So that was
Yep.
a great starting point for us. And man, you just had this maturity about you. This really you're humble, but you're hungry too.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hungry, very eager to learn, and you had a lot to give. But unlike a lot of young guys coming up, you just had like an old soul. Like it's hard to explain, but
Ronnie says that all the time, bro.
absolutely, man. The way you approach how you play, because it's one thing to have all the chops, which you have chops, right? But man, you also got feel, and that you can't really teach that, man. Like you actually have a sound, and that is
Thank you, man.
for your eight back then when you're 23 to
Yes.
have a sound, and it's gotten better since, right? You're like on a whole nother level now. We'll get to all
Thank,
that,
thank you, man.
but yeah, that back then, man, I loved you immediately, and that's why I put myself out there for you so quickly. I saw that
Yeah.
you needed some symbols.
Oh, let's talk about it. In my setup that week, just so everyone knows, first tour out the gate. By this point, I had cracked every crash symbol I ever had up until that point. Talk about starting from the bottom. All I had that was mine, and Darius will remember this, was my ride symbol.
Hmm.
I think I had a splash stack or a splash. I think it was a splash or a splash. No, it was a splash stack.
Hmm.
That and my hi-hats. Those were the only symbols that I had personally that one were not cracked, two that were actually mine. I had to borrow three crash symbols and a stack, an extra stack that I had on the side at that time.
Yep.
And y'all, Darius pulled me to the side after one of those run throughs of whatever song because we did like 50 songs that week.
Oh,
But
bro, man,
Darius pulled me to
that
the side.
that's a low number right there.
He's a low number. He came in there. TP came in there. I know we'll get to it. He came in there every day. He was like, y'all know this song?
Right.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe this one. But Darius was like, hey man, I see you need some symbols, man. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of this company, Heartbeat Percussion. I'm playing them in my setup, and I was listening the whole time. Like, them
Hmm.
symbols sound good. Never knew we talked about it. Called Chad up. Shout out to Chad Jorgen. Out the
Yes.
gate, out the gate, my man was like, "Man, Darius Frenches, you come highly recommended from him. We love him. If you wanna sign with us, we'll sign you today."
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, just so people know, with any endorsement,
Right.
we'll sign you today. I talked to Chad the other day. I don't even think we put anything on paper. Like, I'm not
They
even on
like that.
paper. They like, but that don't always happen. So
It
that gets
don't.
signed, and the next Monday from when we talked, that next week. When we went out, by the time we got to Oakland for our first show, I
Yep.
had
Yep.
Symbols meet us there.
Yep. Man,
Yep.
that's a blessing, man. Like, you know, what I offered or opened the door, I say, it's nothing me. It's really God did all of that because,
Absolutely.
my relationship with Heartbeat had just really begun like
You
the
said
year
that too, though.
before. I don't even think I had been with him for a year at that point. Um,
Yeah.
but I love their product, first of all. I love just their heart and spirit behind what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And their people. Chad is he's one of the best guys in the world, man. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They take care of us. And so it was a no brainer for me to open that door because the similar thing happened to me when I was coming up. I got a chance to play with Alex Acuna on a Fred Hammond gig,
Yeah.
and he sat in with us and was impressed with me and called Toka and said, "Y'all need to sign this guy." They had never heard of me before,
Nope.
and I'm still with Toka to this day.
It takes
So
one time from the right person. Obviously, it's God ordained, like you
yeah,
said. But man, I still have to give you your credit because you could have saw that and said nothing.
yeah,
Even knowing what you know, you could have
right.
been like, ah. But because it was done for you, you did it for me, and that's why this is profound.
Yeah,
Like,
man, and that's another reason why I'm like so proud of you because you have just taken the gifts God has given you, and man, every single step, every single next level, you've just maximized your opportunity, man. So tell us,
yeah,
man, let's start from the beginning.
yeah.
How did you get into playing drums?
Wow. So I came out of the womb playing drums.
Yeah.
At 9 months, my grandmother still tells stories to this day. To me, that she said to my parents, "Don't y'all hear him trying to mouth something?" I would just be making like little beats with my mouth,
Mm,
like trying to mouth out something, trying to beat something. And she kept saying it. We get further along, and my dad is like, "Okay, yeah, nah, he's beatboxing. He really wants to get with these drums." So started sewing into it. At 2 years, 2 years, 3 years old, that's when that Christmas bought the kit.
mm.
Um, the little baby kit that everybody, you got to get one of
Oh
those
yeah.
with the two toms
Yeah.
splash in the middle. Oh
Paper
no, it's not two.
heads.
It's a snare with a tom or something. But yeah, with the
Right,
kick.
right.
Yeah. And so it starts there, man. And then my grandmother uh, was pastor of her church. She's a bishop, so she had her church in Waco, Texas, where I was born.
Oh,
And
nice.
so man, I grew up playing in church. 5 years old, I become the Sunday morning church drummer at her church with my dad on piano.
Wow.
And yes, from 5 years old, it starts then, which credits everything other than God first putting the gift inside of me. My father cultivated it from a young age. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't shy away from it. He pushed me all the way towards it. So started playing, and from there, man, the discipline started. That's when the discipline started. Um, from there, man, I keep that going. We moved to at 7 years old, I believe, 6 to 7, we moved to Fort Worth, Texas, where
Nice.
I would spend the rest of my years growing up before going to college. And man, my dad was the minister of music at ITOP, Inspiring Temple of
Okay.
Praise in Fort
Yeah.
Worth, Texas, off of Lancaster and Lancaster, for how we were saying it back at the house,
Right. Look.
back at the
Right.
crib. Everybody was like Lancaster, but so I started playing with for the youth. One of my dad's good friends and my uncle, Kerry Devereaux, was the drummer at the church.
Mm-hmm.
But I played a lot of the youth stuff. They started letting me sit in. I was getting reps. 12 years old. I'll never forget it. My dad, he had a group, Nero Foster and Communion. At 12 years old is when I do my first live recording on
Oh
drums.
yeah. All right.
And it's documented. I wouldn't really want to play it like that, but it's documented. It's documented, and man, from there, I think my eyes were really open to. I didn't realize it, but he was setting me up. for all of the moments because we'll get
Right.
all the way to when we get to Tyler Perry while we're in the red,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so many other moments before and after. So at 12, my first live recording, and at that same time, I start playing in clubs. So my dad and uncles, I'm with grown men who are all at least 40 to 45 years old at
Mm.
12, and we're playing at Buttons in Fort Worth.
Shout out to
Um,
Buttons.
but shout out to Buttons. So we were there. No, there was one before that. Ovations?
Okay, okay, okay.
Ovations.
Hold on. So, so Ovations holds a special place in my heart, and I'm gonna tell you
Yeah,
why.
man. Same.
So I played with a band, a collective. I call it a collective called Full of Soul. Keith
Yes.
Anderson on sax,
Keith Anderson for sure.
Chuck Smith on bass, my father-in-law,
Father-in-law. Yes, sir.
Bobby Sparks,
The
Bernard
Funky
Wright,
Master.
uh, sometimes Mark Lettieri, sometimes Alan Cato, sometimes Todd Parsnow, Jason JT Thomas on drums.
Shout out to JT, one of my freaking
Shout out to
favorites.
JT, phenomenal drummer, and myself. We had a Sunday evening residency at Ovations. There, I don't know how, maybe a year and a half, maybe.
I
So
might never see that.
every Sunday we was hitting there, and it was incredible, man. I love that place so much. So you were playing at Ovations, man.
Man, we
I
would
did not
do.
know that.
My dad had a band at that time. It was all my uncles and myself, Common Ground. And we
Wow.
did, it was my dad, Nero Foster. It was Jermaine Marshall, and or my other uncle, XL Amos on keys. Sometimes it'd be both of them. Um, and then John Taylor on saxophone, Fred Sandifer on guitar,
Yeah.
lead guitar,
Yeah.
and I'm making sure I'm not missing nobody. I think that was the main unit, and
Okay.
then sometimes we would have uh, my auntie Miss Ramona, a White. She would come sing with us, as well as now Jermaine Marshall's wife, LaShawn Lashandra Marshall. She would sing with us too, and they would do different stuff. We would do instrumental jazz stuff, and then have we
Mm-hmm.
do some R&B, some funk, some soul, and neo soul, all of those types of things. But man, that's where it started to kick off for me, where I was introduced from the beginning, from church to that point, is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Band. Now we're in a band setting that has nothing to do with church, where it's like you have to even have more of a discipline because now you have to pick your spots. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning all of the essentials at a young age of like you give more here, less here. And then my dad would always like I tell people all the time, I started playing chops later than a lot of people now. Some people
Mm-hmm.
learn chops first, add the discipline later. My
Right.
whole beginning of my life up until at least that age at 12, 13 is discipline. My dad started giving me solos on those shows. And
Nice.
so that's when I was soloing where the band would do hits and stuff and I would catch that. And then sometimes if it wasn't that, it might be an open solo. And then when
Mm-hmm.
I was ready, bring the band back in. So he was training me, but in real time, in front of people.
Man, look.
and And he was paying me like the adults. Let me say that. My dad did not do that. He did
Yeah.
not have me up there for free. So I learned the business too early on. Like my dad was like, if the band, at that time it wasn't nothing crazy, but if it was like $100, if that's what it was for everybody, the
Bro,
adults, dad was like, here go your $150.
man, let me give a special shout out to Nero Foster because he that's special, man. It's one thing to know that your child has special gifts musically. Then there's another step when you start investing in that. And then
Yes.
there's another step when you actually start trusting your kids.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he trusted you enough to allow you to and let's not be let's get it real. The drummer, that's the heartbeat of the band. You can't
Has to be on point.
if the drums ain't right, the band ain't right.
Throw the band
So
away, man.
so he trusted you, man, and man, that's such a testament to him not just being a good father, but hearing from God, trusting Himself to believe in you, and
Yeah.
man, that's amazing. And He paid you too. Like that's
Right,
cherry on the
all of
top.
them. It's
Yeah.
cherry on top. Because at that time, obviously, I'm not even thinking about the money, but it didn't, that allowed me to learn even handling that. Okay, now
Mm-hmm.
I'm making some money, and we're gigging two times a week, maybe, or maybe three times, and then along after that, my dad and my mom started the church, started their own church, and so we were doing double duty.
Okay.
We had Inspiring Temple of Praise. My dad had a church with my mom, Covenant Worship Center at that time.
Okay.
We started in the living room of the house. So Wednesday night Bible study, Inspiring Temple of Praise Sunday morning, and Thursday night maybe for rehearsal. Well, we gonna gig on Friday and Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on the Sunday, we might do a Sunday evening
Right.
or a Sunday brunch at Buttons. So it started moving, and so man, from there on. I go to sixth grade, so I start to read music. That's when I start reading. Everything else up until
Mm.
that point is by ear, and
Wow.
so and from that point, the high school band director. Sixth grade music teacher Chrissy Calva was her name, and I believe she changed his name because she had just got married now. But from that point, man, the sewing kept happening. The From that point, Miss Chrissy went to our lead band director at Southwest High School, where I went, and he came to one of the sixth grade performances, and I remember my parents letting Miss Chrissy know that I was a drum set player, but they
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to have the value of knowing how to read snare music, marimba, vibes, timpani, concert percussion, bass drum, snare drum, all of those things to have in my arsenal. So
Mm-hmm.
she started it, and man, they had this piece during a show where I got to play drum set with the entire concert band, symphonic band.
Oh,
And man, the all of the band directors, the jazz band directors at the high school and the middle school, and Mr. Stacy Dunn and the rest of the high school staff, they came to the show and I played drum set. And that night he said, "Man, you are really special, and I want you to come to our high school." Because at that time they were funneling up from Wedgwood 6th
mm-hmm.
to Wedgwood 7th and 8th, Southwest High School.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the trajectory. So from that point, that is the focus. Um, Seventh and eighth grade, same thing. Shout out to Mr. Adam Kramer and Mr. Michael Dawson. My jazz vocabulary to this day starts from them, not
Yeah,
from
man.
college yet. Like they challenged myself and my brother, yeah, who's a phenomenal musician as well, Jarius Foster. So
Absolutely.
they're respons
Absolutely.
they're responsible for changing our listening ears. Because at this point, I've only played funk, uh, uh, neo soul type, and then maybe like smooth jazz, not straight
Right.
ahead. So
Right.
now I've added to my arsenal, man. And then we go through high school. I do marching band, the whole nine. Drumline captain my senior year. Um, and man, it's a journey because there was a point, Darius, where all this time I was playing basketball, and I get to my junior year, no, sophomore year, and I take it upon myself to leave band, thinking I'm going D1.
Yeah, you going to NBA, bro.
I'm going to the NBA just like
Yeah.
everybody else. And,
Right.
AAU, the whole nine, man. And I remember this was a turning point where my parents didn't make the decision for me. They set me down and said, "Hey, man, we know you have," my dad specifically, "you have a future in music that most people would never get.
Mm-hmm.
And I know and you're good at basketball. You're good, but you're great at music."
Yeah.
And from that point, they obviously gave me the wisdom, and I took the point where I played sophomore year, junior year, I stopped, and I was like, I'm going after music completely. Turned the whole shift around. My junior year on, I dedicated everything, every ounce of my being to getting professional with it. How
Mm-hmm.
do I turn this into my life after school and into a profession? And it switched when I had to learn a whole marching show, the first half in 3 days for quads.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah,
then
man.
I have a moment like Devin Miles in
Oh,
in Drumline
drumline.
where I'm what I have in my arsenal is I can play by ear. So I can read music. So what do we have to do? I had to learn 8 bars at a time to show.
Yeah.
But for me, it was easy to watch it and do it because I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah.
And from that point, that's when I knew anything that comes at me, I can handle it. And so I was building these muscles up, man. And we get to the point now where I have the opportunity to go to either Berklee College of Music,
Hmm.
Manhattan School of Music, or New School.
Okay.
And I went to all of the auditions. Berkeley actually came to Fort Worth. They
Really?
had an audition downtown Fort Worth. It was a song studio. I can't remember the name, but I chose to do my audition with my dad and Jerry's. And
Man, okay. Okay. Before we get into college, because that's an important piece. I
yeah.
want to know, so from basically fifth grade
Okay.
all the way through 12th grade,
Okay.
you're playing, you're growing, you're getting all these experiences. Is there any point in that time frame that you got a chance to actually record drums in a recording studio?
Yes. So great question. Yes. So before we get to the live recording at 12, because that's when I'm in the red, but that's in a live setting that recording was at the church at
Yeah.
our Inspiring Temple of Praise. Before then, my dad always kept a studio in the house, and
Okay.
at that time we lived in Tree Ridge, like in what's that complex in Fort Worth. I don't want to give the exact address, obviously, but in our house you would walk in, and everyone that come to the house, you walk in, and the staircase is right when you walk in. The living room, like a living room area one to the left. You walk past that, there's the main living room, the kitchen to the right. To the left was this room, and that was the studio room.
Okay.
And my dad used to do sessions in that room all the time. And I remember him recording. I That was when I recorded and heard myself back to myself. Um, But honestly, Darius, I'm gonna have to say, I think the first time I was able to tangibly hear myself and learn from it was the live recording. I didn't have many times with my dad in the studio at our house set up with drum mics and the whole
Hmm.
nine. Like, no, I the most I heard myself back was from that live recording. I
Okay.
remember, I remember from that point on is when I got to get in the studio. After that, in high school, actually, the jazz band, we did a lot of recordings.
Okay.
Um, we did a lot of recordings, whether it was for festival turn-ins, when we would do the high school jazz festivals that would happen on Saturdays
Hmm.
at different times during the school year. And then also my audition for, dang, I definitely skipped over this. I did the Dave Brubeck Institute jazz
Okay.
camp my junior year, but my sophomore year, I made all state jazz band
Nice.
in high school. So that was the first time I had to get in the studio and play something that was going to be listened to by several educators across the entire state
Right.
of Texas, which we know is
Yeah.
humongous.
So,
So
do you remember where you recorded that?
I recorded it at Southwest High School, actually.
Okay. So y'all had a recording studio in the high school.
Yes, so at that time, shout out to Marco Petrelli. He was over like it would be similar to like this Fame type of program,
Hmm.
like performing
Yeah.
arts. He really brought that aspect to the school because before it's all live, whether it be symphonic, concert band, big band type stuff, or
Yeah.
jazz band, to where now it's a controlled in the studio environment, producer, artist energy, and learning how to get mic settings and all of the electronics, the whole nine. So
Yeah.
that's where I did my recordings for it. But yeah, that's when I started really recording. We were in the studio. That was like towards the end of my time there. So I had like my last period of school was with him, with that
Nice.
class. I ended the day in in the studio. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
So you transition into college. You end up choosing Berkeley. How
yes.
did you come to that decision?
So, when, like I told you, it was between New School, Berkeley, and Manhattan School of Music. Well, Manhattan School of Music, I didn't get a scholarship there at all, and it wasn't the top of my list. Berkeley had been top of my list, period. I had just chose that school, and I would have to shout out Sean Wright was how I knew about Berkeley initially. Drummer,
Mm-hmm.
amazing drummer, and Darion Javon and Derek Cobb, shout out to them too. Those three individuals, I saw all the Michael Jackson ensemble videos from Darion Javon and D Cobbs, and I saw these dudes doing show arrangements and stuff that was just out of this world at that time. And to me, I had never seen that. And no other
Wow.
school felt like that to me. Um, New School was number two, and they gave me initially more money of a scholarship than Berkeley.
Okay.
And I thought about New School. We know a bunch of people that have been there,
Absolutely.
that are amazing.
Robert
Um,
Glasper.
Robert Glasper to start, but
Yeah.
there's several people that went there that I just, for me, I wanted to play every genre, and I
Mm.
mean that. And at Berkeley, that was the best choice, and I felt like that school offered me the opportunity to do that. So in my audition, my brother Jarius Foster, my dad Nero Foster, we play a few different genres in my Berkeley audition,
Nice.
and then that solidified it for me. It was Berkeley is it. I'm going, and so we drove 28 hours. My dad,
Oh
my
man.
mom, Peter Morris, and myself. We drove all the way to to Boston, Massachusetts
Man.
from Texas.
Hey man, that's an amazing story, man. You were born for that though, man. I mean, all the
Yes,
training
sir.
that you had from a young child, it prepared you for that moment.
Yeah,
So you get
yeah,
into Berkeley, and I'm not going to assume everybody knows about Berkeley, but for the most
right.
part, it's a very high level
Absolutely.
music school. You
For years.
can't just get in there. You got to actually have real talent, and not just talent, but actual drive to want to be great to go there.
Yes.
Um, s-
Absolutely.
so when you get to Berkeley, like, what is that like for you? I know that they have a lot of performance bands, but like, did you get into any recording in studios while at Berkeley?
Yes. That definitely started happening. I want to say within my first year, I had a friend, Jermaine Poindexter, who's from Chicago, amazing drummer. We did several recordings and drum videos together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say, man, we had a studio for those of you that may be familiar, but for some that are not. When you go there, the school is off of Massachusetts Avenue, and they we had two buildings that were like the main buildings that had the studios would be 150 Mass Ave, and they had the state of the art studios,
Mm.
like the big control boards like SSL type energy,
Yeah.
like everything was state of the art. All the microphones that you can think of that you would need. And so that's when it started for me. Those recordings, I would say, what's the first recording I did? I want to say one of the first ones I did was with Jermaine in the studio. No, I'm sorry. Shout out to Fifth Flow. It was a band I was in college with Sam Lundell, Isaiah Hill, Corey Fells, Jack Roshan on guitar. Uh, Isaiah and Corey played keys. Sam was a bass player, and I was a drummer. That's the first time I started doing sessions consistently,
Okay.
where we started doing live arrangements.
Nice.
And so based on that inspiration, Darius, this is when we started doing that, and to this day, those videos are like in millions of views.
Oh
Like
wow.
it's like people are still, I run past people all the time and they're like, "Aren't you Josh?" At that time too, I had locks. So
Yeah. Yeah.
people remember that, but that's when the recording started really happening. That was like my second semester of school.
Wow.
Yeah, so the synergy with those guys, we met, we started talking, obviously jam sessions and different things like that outside of our classes, man. And Sam had these crazy ideas for these arrangements, and this band had a bunch of people we could all play at a high level, But it was like, yo, how can we do something that's totally different, that's out of this box, out of the
Hmm.
box? And man, that's where it starts.
Man, that's amazing, man. Just to have a
Yeah.
place that you're going to school, you have an opportunity to, in real time, use your gift
Yes.
and just really hone it and craft it, man. That's a blessing. It's one of those things like just like you. I went to a performing arts high school, top of the line. We had like these section coaches that were professionals in their own right that would
Yeah.
come in and tutor us and mentor us and for all 4 years of high school. But the one thing, man, I don't understand, nobody talked to me about Berkeley. Like I didn't even know about Berkeley till I was well out of high school. But
Professional.
I was already working, so it didn't really
Yep.
matter
It mattered at that
for
point.
me. It didn't,
Yeah.
but I always love hearing about musicians like yourself and others who had that experience, and you can really see how the maturity translates when you guys get out into the marketplace and are
Absolutely.
using your gift. It's something different.
Yeah, some more than others because I took it a step further, and I just want to make it clear because you said performing arts school. The beautiful thing about me in high school is it was a public school, but my band teachers, the music program,
Mm-hmm.
felt like a performing arts high school because it was
Mm.
in Fort Worth ISD, but these guys and ladies really honed in on the kids, especially it didn't matter if you planned on doing it after high school or not. It was
Right.
that rigorous of a thing to where I had to make a choice.
Mm.
Sports, music, like it was a thing where it's like, no, if you're gonna do this, like we do this. We're passionate
Yeah.
about it. And so getting to Berkeley, man, shout out to Tia Fuller. She's an amazing professor, but before that, amazing saxophone player. She was a part of the original all-female band with Beyonce,
Mm-hmm.
with Nikki Gillespie, and so many others.
Yeah.
Um, and then I have to shout out John Hazilla, my first drum instructor, where we did a full year of brushes.
Wow.
And my second drum instructor that I did not change from, Kim Plainfield, rest in peace. He taught Chris Coleman as the as
Legend.
and he taught many others, but Chris Coleman he brought up because he was saying that I remind him of him.
Yeah. I
And
can attest to that.
I,
I can.
I don't know how y'all hear it, but I what I will say is those three. There's several other people that were amazing, but those three poured into me in a different way. John Hazilla was a stern, strict, funny guy though,
Mm-hmm.
so he stayed on me. But at that time, I didn't know what all you could do with brushes, and to this day, I still have to grab from that in my arsenal. Not as much as everything
Mm-hmm.
else, but with Mariah, I have to use it. So it's
Right.
like, but Tia Fuller, I did every one of her ensembles. Esperanza Spalding ensemble,
Mm.
Duele ensemble. I was the MD in the Beyonce ensemble, the first one that she did, which is now like it's a thing to be in the Beyonce ensemble at Berkeley.
Wow.
Um, but what else did we do? The Christian McBride ensemble.
Oh yeah. He's a Berkeley alum, right?
Yeah, I believe. I want to say that he is. I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say that he's either that or a new school. But
Yeah, yeah.
let's
You know
double
what?
let's
That's.
double check it.
I think you're right. I think it might be new school, but I'm not positive.
I think I
I'll
think,
put some up.
but he's there. He's done so many clinics there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like he's one of the professors there at times. But
Right. Right.
those specific people, man, prepared me for life in music, not
Mm.
just Berkeley or whatever bubble of that. It was like, Josh, you sound great, but specifically Ken Plainfield, we never worked on chops ever. He always was like, I'm going to work on concepts with you.
Mm.
That's it. He's like, I know you have hands. I hear it when we're doing
Yeah.
stuff. I hear everything you're already doing. That's going to be fine. We need to get it into the way that you think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
now to this day,
bro.
he saved my life for real.
Man, let me tell you, man. And all of that stuff manifests in how you approach drums and life. You know,
Yeah.
I saw it, man. A young man, 23 years old, when we first met. You had you had it. there was
man.
never a time that we had to say, "Hey, Josh, you think you could like, um,
Dress
approach this a
harder.
little bit different?" It was never like that. Never, not one time that I can remember.
Yeah.
And to play with a young cat like yourself at that time, man, it was refreshing, man, because I could just play and have fun.
Have fun.
And
And
that
there it is.
there's nothing worse than the percussionists have to like try to compensate for the drummer. I don't want to do that. That's not my job. You
No, we
know?
supposed to be in tandem. We
Hey
supposed to work
man.
together.
And we did that, man. We almost kind of like thought of the same stuff like
Yes.
without talking, and that to have that right away is rare. But
It
man,
is so rare.
as we kept going, and we fortunately, man, had the time to gel even more because we were on the road for like what 5 months or something.
Six, man. Because
Yeah,
if you count January, we
right,
January to May, and
right.
we not home until June, really, because we
Yeah,
went to literally the end of May. So
yep.
mentally, and then we did a month back in 2020 as well,
We sure did,
before the pandemic. So we did, I think it was 151 shows.
man. That's yeah. That's a lot of shows, man, to lock in, man, and that's
Yep,
exactly what we all did. We all locked in with each
and
other,
stay
man. But
awake to catch
oh
all the
man, bro,
cues.
oh man, that's a whole nother story right there.
Oh no, it's such a whole other story. But
Yeah, man.
I do want to say this because this leads up to us meeting, and then we can go from there. Darius, I just want to add, Marsha Ambrosius
Hmm.
at 2019 or 21. No, no, no. I had to be 2021. Right out of Berkeley. That's my first gig.
Okay, first gig.
And first gig out of the gate, shout out to
Wow.
Mitch Henry. Mitch Henry told Marsha about me. He had been out with her, been out with Flowetry when they were still doing their thing, and then Marsha was doing her shows. And at the time, I was still in Boston before moving to Atlanta, and that was my first gig, man. And after that was Snoop Dogg's Redemption of a Dog tour, his a
Mm-hmm.
play about his life. And so 2017 Marshall, 2018 Snoop, the Redemption of a Dog, and then 2019, here we are. Our
Yeah,
relationship has started. So
man. And look, so let's jump to after we come off the road 2020,
okay,
pandemic happens, right?
man,
So walk me through what's happening in that time because obviously we weren't traveling.
yes,
So I know that there had to be an opportunity now for you to start recording
yes,
from home. So
yes.
how did that come about for you?
So as you know, but just for you, for everyone watching and listening, I during that tour is probably when I really started the social media presence
Mm-hmm.
of, and not recording the show, but moments of us doing sound checks and stuff. So we
Right.
get through the tour. When we get through the pandemic, I had a studio set up at my house in Stone Mountain, Georgia, at the time, with my brother Isaiah Hill, and we had turned the master bedroom into a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had our own separate rooms. And man, in that master studio, I recorded so many records. To this day, I could probably, if I had to put a number on it, I at least cut 200, 300 records in there. I mean, at least. I
That's a
was in the,
lot.
that's a lot. And TV shows, I cut, because let's just say before we get to the pandemic, for me, the Tyler Perry play, the Medea Farewell tour, really started to put wind in my sails. Because you
Mm-hmm.
remember, one of Ronnie's good friends came to the show in Dallas, and that's how I ended up, I want to say, Miss Carol Jones, I want to say, introduced me to Larry Blackman. That's when I started playing with Cameo.
Right? With Cameo, yeah.
So I started doing Cameo, and we get to that time, and so bunch of recordings. I had also met Daniel Moore by this time. So
Mm-hmm.
we're cutting the Black Music Honors from the
Yep.
house. Um, and man, 2020 was different for everyone in this world, but for me, I had been waiting on what we experienced with the play tour with
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, and by the time we get to 2020, I am having moments of like this ambiguous, like, God, like I know you didn't bring me this far for, and even the world, but
Right.
specifically, let's make it personal. For me, I'm just like, man, I'm just getting started.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
like everything just started happening
Yeah.
from 2017 all the way up until 2020. It was like things, and it felt like it was moving. That would have been the
Yeah.
first year I did the Stella Awards live. I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget that. Daniel hit us up one day. It was like, yo, the Stellars is March 22nd that year, or something like
Yeah.
that. But he's hitting us up in February, March 1st or around that week of March. I remember that's when everything started shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yep.
man, I'm recording. Instead of getting two down, me and Isaiah Hill went to their studio, man, every day, recorded videos, um, and surrounded myself within the confines of who was there. At that time, um, the studio was probably the place for me to really release all the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Times of, you know, I don't want to use the word depressed, but obviously that happens. I think depression is a state, obviously, that you're in,
Yeah.
that you're trying to get out of. But for me, it was moments of depression, like where it's
Right.
like, dang, man, like I don't know if this is really gonna happen, but I kept moving even through that. It was like, no, I kept had to remind myself, hey, nope, this not gonna be forever. Stay in it.
Yeah.
So we had jam sessions, just us, not a lot of people, obviously, social distancing.
Right.
But and man, so I stayed in that studio, and then we get to I want to say because we had already did the rest of that tour, so we get to 2021, man, and things started picking up. But by that time, the end of 2020, going into 2021, I had already sent out so many records. I was getting a lot of requests based
Mm.
on that sound, and I think at
Yeah.
that year is when my sound in the studio was established.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So walk us through like what your setup was from like your drum setup to your mics to your interface to your computer to your DAW.
Okay.
Like how was
Yes.
everything arranged for you?
Yes. So let's start. I was recording in Logic Pro X, which is obviously to this day I still do it. I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody loves Pro Tools, but Logic Pro X, and my interface at the time is a PreSonus Audio Box 96. It had 8 channels, and
Mm-hmm.
then what I would do is I bought no, I was gifted a another PreSonus, a Digimax 8 inch 8 channel preamp from my
Okay.
friend and another big brother of mine, Rico Clark. And
Nice.
so what I would do is I would ADAT
Okay,
connection
that.
both,
Yep.
and I would put the drums, I would put the shells through the preamp and the overheads through the PreSonus through the that interface, because the clarity of the overheads and the all of those mics, all of the condensers sounded
Mm-hmm.
great coming through there. So even when I would do a condenser sometimes on the snare bottom, but my mic setup at that time, because I'll get to the drums. My mic setup at that time, believe it or not, was a Shure Pack that's probably like $400. I remember, you know I know it's a Shure Pack, and maybe you know the exact name, but the Tom mics that clip on
Mm-hmm.
the toms that you can screw to get them as high up on the
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of the name. I want to say it's
Right.
like SE. I don't know. I want to say I don't know why 41's in my mind, but I could be wrong. But that pack, the Tom mics, I used to always play a 10, 12, 16 inch, and so I had those mics on that. It came with a kick drum mic and a snare top mic. And then
What did they run for the snare top? Was it just like a 57 or was it a
at that time, I didn't even have a 57. It was a part of that pack. I'm gonna get you that pack so you can post it for people because I know what it looks
right?
like.
Okay.
Um, but I definitely want to make sure we get that because that would be good for people to see.
Yeah.
Um, and so what I do remember having is this pack is CAD microphones.
Absolutely. Yeah. CAD.
The CAD set that kick drum mic is when I started putting that kick drum mic on my floor tom, and I
Okay.
took the other rack tom mic off. I put that kick mic on that floor tom, and then all of a sudden it was there goes your body.
Yeah.
And so the overheads to the cab mics were now my both my left and right. And then for a while that's what I used until we were able to get a what's this microphone I used to put on the hi-hat? I want to say it's not a it was an Odyx. It's an Odyx
Okay.
hi-hat the condenser for the from Odyx.
Was it like
And
the I7 or something like that, or
the almost like the pencil.
yeah, yeah, the pencil. Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Mm,
So but yeah, so that was the main setup at that time until I could get the next set of mics. So I used that, and for my snare bottom, I used the snare mic from the CAD set.
mm-hmm.
So mind you, both of these mic packs, shout out to both of those companies, but they were both lower level companies as far as not companies, but
Well,
the
just
mic sets,
entry level
entry
mic
level,
set. Yeah, for sure.
entry level, get your recording started.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did to my room was try to treat it as much as I could possible. I didn't know much about it.
Okay.
It's not like your room, but I had, what's the not the panels, but the
The
styrofoam, the
styrofoam.
gray.
Yeah, or
I
Alex or whatever. Yeah,
Orlex. I'm all behind the kit on the
yeah.
side walls and on the front walls. And the room was around like it was a little bit more than a 10 by 10. I want to say it was about like 15 by 12.
Okay, good.
Right. So like for a drum area to record, it was
Yeah,
just the right amount of room
yeah.
in the microphones, but that was it. Drum set, Yamaha drums. You already know how I feel
Out the
about
box,
Yamaha.
brother. Out the
Out the
box.
out the box. So man, I had this stage custom, my first professional kit since 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This red or burgundy Yamaha stage custom
Yes, sir.
20-inch kit, 10
Mm.
inch rack tom, 10 by 8, 12 by 9, 14 by 14,
Yeah.
a hanging floor tom,
Yep.
and a 16 by 16 floor tom. To this day, man, hands down, I will play that kit anywhere. Like, so that
Yes,
was my
sir.
kit at that time. And then my first professional snare, huh, if you will, a Pearl Master 6.5 by 14.
Yes, sir.
Man, so that was my first setup where I started doing different recordings. The drum heads, Remo Vintage Emperors on the toms,
Mm-hmm.
and the kick drum at the time I would use before I started using like the Remo pinstripe, Power Stroke 3 coated pinstripe. I was using Aquarian kick, super kick. You already
Okay.
know. And the snare head was a was normally a coated Emperor by Remo.
Yeah.
But man, that was my introduction to recording, and that was it. That's how I sent all my files. I had my Bluetooth set up
Mm-hmm.
to my computer, where right next to me on my left, I had my mixer plugged into getting the output from the interface from the PreSonus. I used the four channel mixer by Sennheiser, I believe, and then what did I have? I had my Bluetooth keyboard, Bluetooth
Yeah.
mouse. And man, we put the HDMI into my computer, and that was my control room screen.
Yeah.
And man, I sent recordings and files like none other, and that's where it starts happening. I learned how to comp, learn how to do all of that.
Yes, sir.
Start, know where to start, know where to crossfade sections, and the whole nine. And
Yeah.
that was where it started, man. Started sending files.
Man, and that's really an important piece, man, that you know, you'd be surprised how many people don't really know how to do that good,
Mm,
or do that well. To
yes,
comp their drums, to edit their takes, to edit, even editing out like some of the room stuff in between. Like
yes,
it really depends how deep you want to go. But
yes.
I know working with you, you've always sent me clean drum takes that are
Thank
just
God.
great. You know?
Thank God. Some from that room, actually, up until
Yeah.
maybe last year and this year
Right.
when we did the recordings. But yeah, up until then, man, that room was special. And I think that was like another way for me to sew into that. I think that's where I
Right.
learned how to record, where it's not a live recording at
Right.
all. So you can hear all the ghost notes. You can hear everything, all the room. That's where I started even getting into electronics. I know I'm getting a little ahead of
Hmm.
myself, but that's where
No, no, no. You good.
that's that's where it really all started. So I would say that that was the beginning of where we are now, where now everyone is sending files from their home studios. So
It's the way of the world now. Technology has made it so, and it's really it's not difficult if you're willing to put a bit of an investment in on room treatment. You talked about that.
yes,
That can take you a long way. And look, I'm not. If it's up to me, I'm not ever lugging my stuff anywhere to record it in nobody's studio.
right,
I'm recording
right.
everything at home because I've invested in that.
Vested.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
tell me, like in your experiences, so recorded from home, you've
Yes.
had a lot of records. Like, tell me something like a story, interesting story about maybe a client that you work with, or something crazy happened. Anything that you could think of that was related to recording that you want to share.
Man, a crazy story. Maybe recording a whole song for an artist and a producer. I want to say it may have been for my brother D-Lo. We was working on something for an artist that he was producing for, where I had to record it, but I forgot for whatever reason my hi-hat mic was not on.
Oh wow.
Something as simple as that, where, for different producers, just for everyone out there, every producer is different from tones, mic placement, sometimes, depending on how your room is, like Darius said about room treatment, and how much separation they want.
Right.
And for this specific record, because I used to get by with videos on Instagram and stuff, I just needed my overheads and I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I did not arm the hi-hat mic. Um, And I played this whole thing and it was perfect. He loved everything. So everything's
Oh
good.
wow.
I didn't when me and the producer or whoever, whichever artist, if I'm working direct, when we're good to go, oh man. All right, I'm bouncing files, having a good
Mm-hmm.
old time, I'm chilling, about to shut the computer down, walk out the studio. And my man gets the bounce, heard it, loved it. He was like, yo man, shoot me the files. I send over them files. He's like, yo man, did you get the hi-hat, Mike? Because I definitely want to have that in there so that way I can maneuver. Everything else sounds great. And I'm like, bro, I didn't I didn't arm it. And I'm looking, you know how it'll show you that you record nothing.
Right.
And so I'm listening through, man, and I'm like, so I had to redo that entire recording. I had to redo
Oh,
that whole
for the
song.
for the hi hat track, he made you redo it.
Bro, yes, I
Oh
had to
God.
redo it. I had to redo it because we needed the separation. But in that moment, I really learned that, like, especially when you don't have an engineer that
Mm-hmm.
you're working with, um, you do have to, like, before sessions now, I prep differently. When it
Mm.
was just myself, I could just walk in the studio and then I'm just moving fast. Let me just learn a song real quick, press record. But no, sometimes I can be so far in my thought process about the song that I
Mm-hmm.
forget. But you're also recording yourself.
Yep.
So, but man, I got several stories where like that also happened another time. But that producer was like, "Oh man, it don't know. The overheads is catching everything. Don't worry about it."
Right.
So
Right.
there's just
Yeah.
different stuff that's happened where it was like, or recording myself for IG and the snare bottom mic is not on, but it don't even matter because the snare top caught everything. It's like, but
Yeah.
I will have to shout out our good friend Rico Gonzalez.
Rico.
When he came to the house after we finished, it was while we were in Atlanta on the tour. We were the last week of the tour in 2019. He came over and gave and put presets all on my in my Logic session, and then when it created me a template and got all my got everything sweet. To this day, I use the exact same template. I've changed rooms, but use his same that same template, and then I've
Yeah.
added stuff over the years to what he did. But
Yeah.
man, he set me up with a crazy foundation. So I have to shout him out because when people be like,
Yes.
"Bro, how you getting them tones? Like, it's so clear." Man, at that time I had Waves. Somebody blessed me with Waves, and I got all of the plugins needed from Waves, and he just used it. Waves. He just used that,
Mm-hmm.
and from this day, man, all I did was get creative with how I put sounds on the drum. Shout out to Fat Snare Drum. I put that on the floor tom, on the deep snare. I
Mm.
used to, I cut out Remo heads and put them on the tom so they would sound like vintage 70s
Oh,
drums and
nice.
80s drums. And that's where all of that, like, he got me sweet, man. And I would have to say, like you said, I don't know, this wouldn't be a crazy story, but Justin Gilbert.
Shout out to Justin Gilbert.
Shout out to Justin Gilbert. He tested my musical vocabulary in the studio very early as far as like tones. And that's when I started getting creative, putting blankets on stuff, just random stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We did a record for Cecil Thornton. I did his whole latest project. It has the title track, I believe, was Overcomer on there. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of different things going on using the rims of the drums.
Mm.
I have those different head cutouts and stuff like that. Just, getting creative, man.
Yeah, man. And that's the beauty, man, about recording is that the sky's the limit, man. You could
Yeah.
try a bunch of stuff, different things, man, different techniques, approaches to craft that sound, man. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, like you having a distinctive sound.
Yes.
What can you say for you goes into your sound, both live and in the studio?
Well, you brought it this up earlier. The biggest thing for me is always going to be feel. As you know, my slogan and a company of mine is feel over flash.
Yes, sir. Shout out to
And
your
I,
company, man, and your swag, man. Definitely got the support. I was actually looking for the shirt. My wife bought a shirt.
she
She,
and a hoodie, I think, or something. I
yeah,
think you
man.
got a hoodie too.
I was trying to find. I was gonna squeeze into it, man, to try and wear it for this, but I couldn't find
Squeeze into it. You
because
was gonna
I mean,
squoze in
yeah,
there like
little
Cassie or something.
squalls. But yeah, man.
But
Shout out to Feel Over Flash, man. That
yes,
great
sir.
product, great brand, and continue on.
Yes. Yes. And shameless plug, drum
Yes,
program masterclass from Phil Over Flash coming March 2024. So
let's
just want to
go.
put that out there. But
Let's go.
what goes into it, man, is the reason it's Phil Over Flash. It's not Phil and no Flash. I just want to make that clear for
Mm,
everybody because I think sometimes people think that now that we're accustomed to more people having chops and more of a flashy look, and it's entertaining that there's no depth. And for
yeah.
me, it's I have depth. Like you said earlier, the whole beginning in life for me is discipline and then how I make people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said, people they will forget how you acted, and what you did even, but they will never forget how you made them feel. When
Absolutely.
people encounter me, I my continuous prayer is always that one, people feel loved, that's what we're supposed to do anyway as
Mm-hmm.
believers in this faith, but that people feel encouraged and inspired, you know. And shout out to the big bro and obviously your bro, rest in peace. But the main person that symbolizes this for me is Aaron Spears.
Man.
Pe-
Yeah, man.
period. Period. That guy from the time I met him at Berkeley, like that's all I remember. That's where Phil Over Flash came from me. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, the feeling I give people matters more than how I look when I come in, because I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna be fresh.
Yes, sir.
I had the sneakers, all of the whole
Yes,
nine
sir.
and everything, but no matter what flash, what flare, any of that, none of that matters at the end of the day if people leave experience me with playing, if they feel weird, if they don't feel embraced. All of that really matters to me, and I believe that that's what makes my playing my sound. I believe that that's what caters to my sound. I
Mm,
think I am a band drummer. I totally believe that I vibrate at a higher frequency when I'm around like-minded individuals.
mm-hmm.
Um, And yes, I believe that my sound is that. I believe my sound is for the people and of the people. I believe that that's what it is for me, man. Each time is like my last time playing. And I stand by that. No matter who's encountering me,
Yes, sir.
while playing, I'm leaving it all on the line. And not in an arrogant way, but in a contextualized
Yeah,
sonic way for those gigs. You know what I mean? So,
for sure, man.
yeah, man.
That's man, look, I can co-sign on all of that, man. You just have a different way of approaching the drums, and you approach it as a well-rounded musician and not just a drummer, and that's very important. And for
Take care.
someone that is as young as you are, you have a lot of experience and a lot of maturity, and that shows out in your playing. And that's why it's no surprise to me to see where God is using you right now
Yeah.
and the stages that He's put you on. And so, just talk to me real quick about uh, being like, we see the guys who are on TV a lot, for
Right.
award shows and things of that
Absolutely.
nature. You are becoming one of those staples that we're seeing in this season now. How did that come
Yeah.
about, and how is that process of being a television drummer?
Yeah. So Daniel Moore. Shout out to Daniel Moore, um, and the entire crew. But I believe when we finished the tour in in 2019, that fall was my first TV show ever, Black Music Honors 2019.
Yeah.
And that's when all of my peers in Atlanta that I had played with had all heard me in that professional type of setting. To me,
Mm,
we have been doing professional stuff. We just came off of a tour, but TV
right.
meant something different to me because I was like, this is forever.
Right.
Um, except for obviously with Tyler, the play going to BET Plus, but that's after I've already been on TV. So
Right. Right.
um, that really set me up in a different way. I believe that that's when all my skills had to come together at one, and
Hmm.
I had my retention level had to come up higher
Right.
because that's 6 to 8 different medleys of different
Hmm.
artists. That's you dealing with so many different people, personalities, long 12 to 16-hour days, man. And Daniel asked the fellas about me. Shout out to Good Times, who
Yes,
was just
sir.
on the Super Bowl.
Super
Mike
Bowl.
Burton, Melvin Jones, Wilbert Williams. Uh,
They
first,
made it,
this is
though. They made it.
they made it to the Super Bowl. And Daniel Moore, obviously MD, Dario Edgecombe, bass
Shout out
player,
to Dario. That's my guy from back in the day.
Dario Edgecombe, Rick Watford on guitar.
Rick too.
Justin Gilbert was in this first band too,
Yep.
for the Black Music Honors, and on percussion, Miguel,
Yes, sir.
my guy Miguel, in in Atlanta, and then I want to say on backgrounds that gig that was Kamaria Moore, Daniel Moore's wife,
Nice.
um, and Kayla's mom, and Roosevelt was singing tenor, and Jasmine Crumley, the first unit ever, and to this day, the unit hasn't really shifted much,
Mm.
but that was the start of this synergy of like, to me, it felt like this is the best example I can give you. It's me and Daniel we started then our Teddy Campbell and Ricky Minor,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
our Nissan Stewart and Ray Chu, our like
Absolutely.
that whole energy is what really started. And I didn't know that that was what's happening because before me, the drum chair was Lil John Roberts.
Legend.
Lil John, and also Daniel's cousin as well, Josh Baker, amazing drummer.
Yep.
He was also in the seat. So there, coming after that, I knew that I had a job to do that was some big shoes to fill. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone that is not familiar, but obviously a bunch of people here would probably be familiar. Lil John Roberts at 23, the same time we went out with Tyler Perry, at 23 for Lil Jon, it was Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson. Yeah, man.
And
He's
then
that guy. He's
he's
that
that
guy.
guy. What can you say? I mean, he's that guy. And
Yeah.
so that TV for me started from there. That's when I really had to lock into, like you said, Darius, what's my sound? And then how do I translate that on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Certain chops, certain fills don't translate on TV the same way they do in the studio that you're just sending files or at church or playing just with one artist. Because the way that TV mixes get bounced down and how that all works
Mm-hmm.
is very different. And that was
Absolutely.
that was the first time I heard intercom talk in my ears, and then you hear the countdowns and five, four, three, two, the
Yep.
track starting, or I had to do count offs for bumpers. That was my first show. We did everything that could have happened. That was I just jumped in the 12-foot pool after just getting my swimming lessons,
Right. You just
and
passed the class.
just passed the class, and they didn't push me in the pool with no life jacket on,
Right.
uh, and so we that's that was the beginning, man, where all of those senses started. And then it was like, okay, to me, Darius, that's when I turned into a man on the drums, personally.
Man. And yes, I agree. I agree.
That's that was man up time. Like, let's
It
go.
was. But man, look, you talked about it throughout this interview. You know, your time with your dad playing, your time in school, you get to
Yes,
college, those experiences, even the play, that helped is set you up for that live element, right?
yes, yes, sir.
So when you get to that first Black Music Honors, man, you were ready, man. You were
Yes,
absolutely ready.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I
man.
couldn't agree more.
It was beautiful, man. My wife and I remember we were sitting down watching, man, just so like proud of you, man. It was like that's our boy, man. That's
Shout out to my
like
sis.
ah, it's
Shout
so
out to
good,
my
man.
sis, man. Yeah,
Absolutely,
because
man.
and from that point, Darius, that has changed. I believe that, like you said, all those moments I was getting prepared for, all the way up
Mm-hmm.
until that point, and from then everything really starts blowing because now the eyesight is like, yo, this guy can really play, and that's when Calvin. You remember we went to Nam,
Yep.
and Ronnie was so nervous when we were Anaheim, had to get all the way back to Sunset.
Yep.
But all of the heroes and different people that were that to me when that TV moment happened, and then from there, man, the first Stella Awards, that changed everything.
Hey,
That
man, look,
changed everything.
I love what y'all got going on. And first of all, let me shout out your boy Stacy real quick.
Come, Stacy Lamont Sidnor.
That guy, and I can't wait to meet him in person.
Oh, you
But
haven't met yet?
we've never met in person before, right?
We talk about you so much.
We got so much in common. It's crazy because he loves wrestling. I love wrestling. I don't. I mean, of course, you got the percussion element there, but
Right, right,
I
right, right,
I
right.
love watching him play. He sounds great, but I love watching
Right.
him. He's amazing.
So, yo, Darius. So to go from you and our energy on playing and what that is, we
Yeah,
having fun and it's always fun. It's a good time and it's groovy and that feeling is there. One thing
yeah,
about Stacy is no one I have ever seen play all of the parts that a percussionist has to play
crazy,
and dance and have a great time doing all of it.
crazy.
And a
Yeah,
lot of the people don't see it all the time, but he keeps the claps and stuff on his foot
on his foot,
while
and
playing
that
everything.
see, but that like shout out to you because he's an amazing drummer too, right?
Oh, shit, absolutely.
Look, I'm not even gonna hold you, man. I can get on the drums and play some pocket, but man, I can't do what y'all do.
Come on, man.
But
Come on, man.
it's so refreshing though to see y'all having fun and it
Yeah,
translates
yeah,
through the TV, and
absolutely.
that is just enjoyable for a consumer to watch, man. So
Yeah,
y'all are doing it, man. That it really, and I thought about this, you know, and when it comes to Black music and the shows that we do or on TV, it's
yeah.
really only you and Mike Reed. If you think about
Yeah,
it right
at
now,
this point, because Brian Fraser Moore, who's one of the most amazing drummers as well in this world,
yeah,
for a certain time too, up until Mike started doing the shows, it's Brian.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Brian with everything with Adam Blackstone. Shout out to
Yep.
Adam.
Shout
Shout out
out.
to everybody in BBE. All everybody, because we already know Aaron Draper. We all hung out together,
My guy. Just talked to him
and that's
yesterday.
and and it's so many people that's a part of that. But yeah, man, you're right. Like Michael text me, hey man, what you got? What you got coming up, bro? You know, and so to be in that conversation, honestly, Darius, is still a little different for me.
Hmm.
Um, I've had people on IG reach out to me and say big bro, and
Hey,
say I've even had other people that have said OG, and I'm like, no, bro.
hey, that's going too far. I
It's
so
going too far. I'm just out. Ronnie say it all the time, man. You still in the first quarter, bro.
you still the first quarter. You know you
Nah, bro.
and don't let them start calling you Unc. If anybody call you Unc right now, please just walk away.
I will, bro, because I'm like, I think what it is, and it started, like I said, from with my dad, with my uncles.
Hmm.
When everybody, every band that I've been a part of, everyone's like, bro, like, you so old. And it's like I'm not it or the maturity thing. I think that's what really prepared me. I had to grow up musically
Right.
faster than my actual numerical age.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had to be this person. So on stage, there's this thing, right? As an entertainer
Yeah.
while playing, that wasn't necessarily my age. After that, I'm going to
Right.
school like everybody else. So, these
Right.
bands, Daniel and everybody, I'm playing with guys that have played with literally everyone.
Hmm.
And the one thing I didn't tell you, the craziest thing for me is recording live with Mariah Carey.
Oh man,
That's
talk
the
about
crazy. We didn't
talk
even
about it.
get. I didn't even get to touch that. But Daniel Moore is responsible for so many other moments outside of God using him to place me in those positions. But man, out of the pandemic, going into 2021, at this time, Mariah lived in Atlanta. She had just got a house out there, and I started working with her. And I'll never forget, man. To this day, because I don't know how much I can talk about but what I will say is
Sure.
we recorded a lot of music.
Mm.
We recorded a lot of music, and I hope that one day soon the world will get to hear it. But those moments, what I can say is those moments taught me a lot about sharing that creative space
Hmm.
with a legend, with an icon, um, and with someone who is very knowledgeable about each space of music and all the producers she's worked with from the
Yeah.
beginning of her career. I really, and a lot of the stuff we did, I had to not type, tap into a very mature version of Josh, because when we did those records, it was like doing some Luther Vandross type stuff where like
Right.
I may not play the hi-hat the whole first verse.
Wow.
Like literally boom, boom.
That's discipline, man.
And discipline. And so those types of things, man, really, I can't stress it enough. Like I feel like a lot of what I learned at an early age is getting replicated over the
Hmm.
years, and so now I'm learning how to. I can just get there a little faster than the years prior to now, where it's like, oh, okay, we going 70s vibe. I'm gonna reach in the arsenal, grab that. Oh, you need
Yeah.
more of a brushes, like with her Christmas tour that we do. I have to play brushes.
Yeah.
That's probably the only gig right now I play brushes on. With Renee, it's a lot of triggers. With Renee and
Hmm.
Mariah, but
Yeah.
specifically with Renee, I think I play triggers. I have triggers on every song. There's
Yeah.
not one song. So even approaching that type of stuff, like everything that I've ever had to understand about sonics and playing with a band and on the spot, hey, we're changing. Like we added a song yesterday in soundcheck before our first show of the
Okay.
European. So,
Hey,
those
you got
quick,
it. You can handle it, man.
we can handle it. So, but yeah, man.
Yeah, that's awesome,
Yeah.
man. There's something funny I want to ask, and you have the option to to answer or not.
Confirm or deny.
I just want to know what was y'all thinking on SNL because I saw that thing turn around. I just want to know what was going on before it turned.
Oh my God. You do not understand how many people like DM'd me asking me that. And I was man, during the performance was very chill. Like Meg's energy was amazing. Like they,
Right, right,
like she was dumb cool. But honestly, like it was funny because like she was trying to remember the dance moves because it's not like you get a lot of rehearsal time for
right,
SNL.
right,
Like
right.
we showed up a couple of days before it went to Weehawken and rehearsed, and then once we got to SNL, man, we had maybe two run throughs
Oh wow.
and they were doing choreography. And I remember she was like behind the cake, like doing little dance moves and
Right, right.
stuff. But the rest of the band couldn't see, like Dre on bass and another the guitar player Josh, uh, another Josh. There's two Joshes in the band,
Oh
so
wow.
it's
Okay.
he's Josh Porter, I'm Josh Foster, so we JP and JF or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Okay.
But me and Nick Humes, I put my brother out there too. We both was we both was back there like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But
That's
it was
funny.
great. Great energy.
Yeah, man.
Listen,
It looked like y'all was having fun.
it was so much fun, man. And I I don't think in the in I you know how you envision certain moments in your life that it's
Mm-hmm.
like God, like I want to do this. I remember before the Tyler Perry thing that I had a vision, not even a vision board at that time, but note cards of what I wanted to do.
Right.
But now it feels like now that I realigned and wrote some more goals this year,
Mm.
and I started off the year with SNL. So it was just like, man,
Yeah.
if we starting like this,
He start right.
what does
Hey,
the rest of
man.
this year look like? So, man, that was a huge blessing because that let me say this, that was a tough moment because I had to make a choice because mind you, the top of this year before SNL, we went to Abu Dhabi with Mariah.
Mm.
And right after, while we're in rehearsal for that, we also have the Urban One Honors, which will be our second year in a row with
Okay.
Daniel and the whole crew.
Right.
And guess what's the same week as Urban One Honors?
Stellar Awards.
SNL.
Oh, SNL.
SNL.
Okay.
So that's this year. So my good brother, an amazing drummer, Dave Shiverton,
Oh yeah, my guy from Florida.
from Florida. So he ends up doing Urban One, which
Okay.
allowed me the opportunity to go do an SNL. I gotta say that because without that, it doesn't happen. So
Yeah, man.
um, that was a different thing because, like you said, we've known each other the last 5 years. Well, since then, I've been with Daniel. I played in every we played every award show together
Man.
since then. So for that not to happen, there was a little like not at Dave by no means, but
Right.
more so of
Right.
just like, hey man,
Yeah.
this is the
Right.
industry.
Right.
This the industry. You can be here today, gone tomorrow.
True.
And for
That's
me,
true, man.
but what I stand by, like we already started, God is the forefront. And I tell people all the time, and lately been saying it so much, is if God's the ultimate plug, I shouldn't be worried about it. If I come in and do my job, I can't worry about that. You know,
Man.
we saw Aaron and Fro with Usher
Yep.
15, 20 years.
Yep.
And then later there was another band. But guess what? Like it's never just our gig, it's our turn. And like you said, this
Yeah.
season I've been on TV and I'm gonna ride that as long as God wants me in that chair. I'm gonna
Yep.
sit in that chair. But when it's time to let go of that chair, I'm not gonna stay there past the time that I'm supposed to. So
Hey,
yeah,
man.
man.
That is again just a very mature way to go about this life and working in this industry.
Yeah.
Um, and so, with that said, man, just give us any advice that you have
Mm.
for some up and coming musicians who want to get out there and they see you doing this, but they may not know exactly how to get there. What would you say to these people?
This is the first thing I'm gonna say, Darius, because I believe that I have several of them.
Mm-hmm.
Get a mentor.
Absolutely.
Mentors. Rick Wofford always says mentors don't seek out mentees. It's just
They
not going to
don't.
happen. And
Nope.
my generation, um, I'm 28 years old because I don't know if we probably said that at the beginning. I have so many mentors. It's crazy. I could
Mm.
name everybody in the Tyler Perry band. For the most part, a bunch of people that have been in this industry for years, collectively and individually,
Yeah.
are all mentors. Ronnie Garrett, we talk all the time. It has nothing to do with music. It has everything to do with
Mm.
life. You and I talk every couple of months or depending on the season, it could be even shorter periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, if we don't talk that often, we talk for a while when we do
Yeah.
speak.
Yep.
Just like this, but about life. And I think that for this up and coming drummers that are one amazing. I'm seeing so many people all the time on IG that are just like at 5 years old, I could play, but like, no, like Baby Boy Drummer, like all
Right.
these,
Right.
Aaron on bass, like all these creatives that are just at these young ages coming up, and I mean they playing,
Yep.
grooving and chopping your head off. And but mentorship is a big thing I think in this industry that we need because you're gonna need help on how to survive, not
Yeah.
just and not how to just survive, but also thrive. How do you overcome moments in life? Because at the
Mm-hmm.
same time that you're pursuing this career, you gotta live.
Yep.
You gotta eat, sleep. You wanna, at some point, for many people, wanna get married, have a
Mm-hmm.
family, have kids, ownership, all of these different things we wanna get into. And I just think that the first thing I would say is mentorship. Second thing I would say is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
How you practice and how you live your life will come out of your playing.
Mm-hmm.
If you lack integrity as a person, as a human being in society, you will lack that in your playing.
Mm.
Period.
Wow.
If you don't wake up every morning, whatever the routine is, get in one.
Yep.
I'm a gym person. A lot of people are very, gym conscious now, or health conscious food wise, but like, man, I wake up and I have a routine. I'm gonna hit the gym. As soon as I get up, I'll go there. I go to the studio for a certain amount of time, like a 9 to 5, and then I come
Mm-hmm.
home, spend time with the wife, especially when I'm in Atlanta. So,
Yeah.
second would be consistency, um, and I would say develop functional practice habits. Because what I'm starting to find now is a lot of people asking me for help with different things.
Mm.
As far as playing specifically, the practice habits are not at what we would say full speed. You know how like in sports where it's like, all right, full speed instead of half
Right.
speed.
Right.
That mean for me, that's just being intentional with that timing of your practice time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think playing by yourself or shedding only with someone. I'm sorry. I don't think shedding with other people or just playing with drums only is going to be beneficial to your career if you want a career in this.
Right. True.
If you want a career in playing in bands or playing award shows, TV tours, artists, you're going to know how to think. You got to know how to think very intentionally. And I think that that's the main thing I would say. Play the records, play the songs,
Absolutely.
know who's on the recordings.
Yeah.
I know linear notes is not the huge thing, but you know they have it on Apple Music. When you click on the artist or the song name and you hit the little eye next to it, it'll pull up the linear notes for people to look at still to this
Lost
day.
start. It's a lost start,
Lost
man.
art. It's a lost art, but
I miss liner notes, man. Miss
yeah,
it.
yeah. So it's just like those are the things that I feel like create an environment conducive for you to matriculate in this industry is
Yeah.
um the first thing, what did I say? The first thing is mentorship,
Mentorship.
um, consistency, and intentional practice.
Mm-hmm.
Intentional practice. And this adds to everything, but once you know who you are, your character, once you develop character, I think this will, no, in your character, uh, stop thinking about what other people think of you.
Oh, yeah, that's
Forget
good.
about
That's
what other
good.
people think about you. That's
Yep.
the character for yourself. Whatever your character is, will acknowledge that and
Yeah.
understand that everyone's not going to like what you do. Everyone is not going to be your biggest fan.
Right.
And that would be my last one for that, because that, I believe that's when my thing really started to work. When my sound started to kick off is when I was like,
Hmm.
I love these other people's sounds, but if I sound like them, they could just call them. So what
Exactly.
makes me the call? The fact that, like, I sound like me. I'm a fan of Calvin Rodgers. I'm a fan of Mike Reed. I'm a fan of all these people. But when they call Josh, no, we know that we're getting Josh. And so,
Yes.
yeah, man, those would be my four, man.
Man, that's so great, man. So well spoken and just so wise coming from a young man like yourself, man. It's refreshing.
Thank
It's
you, man.
refreshing to hear your perspectives. It's refreshing to just know that you got your head on right and you
Thank
doing
you.
this thing the right way. And because of that, because you have great character, God is able to use you in places, man, in these high profile situations, man. And I'm proud of you. I'm so grateful that I get a chance to know you and we have a great relationship. And before we go, man, just tell the people like where they can find you on social media. If you got anything coming out soon,
Yes.
what's going on in the world of Josh Foster?
Yes. So, shout out to, again, Fill Over Flash. We have my drum program coming soon. I know that people have been waiting on that. So March 2024, that's planned for that to come out. So you can look out for that. My socials, Instagram is at the Josh Foster. My Facebook will be Josh Foster. I'm not on there as much, but
Right.
at the Josh Foster on Instagram, and then on TikTok, same thing, at the Josh Foster. And yeah, man, what you can look forward to is this year, soon, man. I have a recording in March once I finish this Europe run with Renee Rapp. I do live recording in Boston at Jubilee with Dion Kipping, um, with an amazing band, Dana Saray, producer, Morgan Turner, bass, Vendale Smith on guitar, um,
Nice.
Richard Tubb Smith on mains, and Sean Alexander on aux. And so yeah, man, that's the most initial thing. And then festival season this year for me is going to be crazy. So y'all look
Oh,
out.
good.
Coachella is up this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah. All
my
right.
first time, my
Yes,
first
sir.
time doing Coachella with Renee. So we'll
Nice.
be doing Coachella. We'll be doing Boston Calling. Festivals. I have festivals from April all the way up until October, I believe.
Nice.
And in April, people can also look forward to Mariah's Las Vegas residency. In
Right.
April, we
Nice.
have shows starting on the 12th, and we go until the 27th.
All right.
Um, so yeah, man, those are like and then Christmas.
You can't do Christmas without Mariah.
You can't do Christmas without Mariah, but those are the things right now, Darius, that everyone here can look out for and look forward to. So it's oh, and of course the Black Music Honors
Yes,
and the
sir.
Stellar Awards. It's we taking it up a notch this year.
Yes, sir.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
man. And
Man.
and I just want to say again, thanks for having me, bro. Like, this
Oh
is this
man.
is an honor, bro, for
No,
real.
thank you. Thank you because you bless this channel, man. You bless this show. You bless me. You bless our family. And guys, I just want you guys to support Josh and everything that he does. Please go out and support Phil Over Flash and all his things he has coming. Um, it will bless you. And again, everyone, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do it. You can
Subscribe.
guarantee we're going to have more and more conversations like we had today with more amazing musicians and artists and engineers and anybody that's related into this thing we do called music. So
Yeah.
support the channel, support Josh. Josh, I love you. I thank you for this time, and
Love
we'll
you,
see
bro.
y'all later.
Alrighty.
Peace.
Peace.